Olympic champion.
So how long does that fight last?
Listen, my opinion, it's 1 round.
There's been some talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
You make of that?
Anthony by murder.
By murder?
Yes.
Golly.
Might knock his head off a little bit. Like, it might be special effect, but it might, like, go out.
Like legit.
Imagine the lights going black, the drums rolling, and a stadium full of people who came for chaos, spectacle, and a little bit of history. Because that is exactly what this outrageous crossover fight promises. Jake Paul, the internet rebel turned fighter, walking into the lion's den against Anthony Joshua, former heavyweight king, Olympic gold medalist, a man carved out of granite and designed for knockout impact. And right from the jump, Oleksandr Usyk makes it sound like there's barely a fight at all.
How AJ taking that fight? Obviously, it's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Do you see something wrong with AJ taking that fight?
This is just a lot of money. It's just a show.
Right.
This is not interesting sport because, guys, brothers, Anthony is Olympic champion.
Right.
Jake, it's just sportsman. Yeah, YouTuber. Jake do a lot of work. Special coach, special food, a lot of exercise, new.
Yes.
But this is guy don't have a mother fights.
Right.
Never
Right.
a mother fights. Maybe them wrestling, now professional, but Joshua, Anthony Joshua, it's Olympic champion.
So how long does that fight last?
Listen, my opinion, it's 1 round. Because Anthony, twice. My fight twice. Jab,
Very hard.
yeah, look. You know, this is.
That's still from his
This
fight.
is jab.
He smirks, shrugs, and claims this thing might last 1 round, tops. To him, it's a money stunt, a flashy circus, a carnival show where Jake Paul walks in wearing confidence like an armor but ends up discovering that heavyweight reality hits way harder than YouTube comments ever did. Usyk isn't being cruel, he's being blunt. Joshua has the power of a wrecking ball and the pedigree of an Olympic champion.
Possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look.
And Jake Paul is stepping into something that might be too real to handle. Then Tyson Fury kicks the whole story sideways, bursting through like a giant with a grin, yelling that not only does Jake Paul belong in this fight, Jake Paul knocks out Joshua. Fury says it with that mischievous swagger, like a man who has seen too many crazy things happen in boxing to ignore possibility. He loves chaos, he loves shock, and he believes in momentum, in youth, in self-belief, in the wild idea that sometimes it's not experience that wins, it's conviction. Fury says Jake Paul is developing, growing, filling out, training like a man possessed, and that can tilt the universe under the right punch. Meanwhile, Teddy Atlas, the strategist, sits in the middle, seeing angles and thinking like a chess player. He nods at Joshua's threat, acknowledges the undeniable power, the danger, the history.
Look at all the advantages that Joshua has. Let's look at how I look at where maybe Paul has some advantages. He's younger. His feet are a little faster. I know he's not at that level of a fighter, I get it, but his feet are faster. Joshua's feet are not that fast, closing gaps, getting to somebody. To hit him, even if you're better than him, you still got to get to him to hit him. Also, Joshua, last time he fought was over a year. He hasn't fought. He was basically retired. Where's his mind at? He got knocked out terribly by Dubois. Where's his confidence? Where's his mindset? Where is he? Is he taking this fight the way that fans are, overlooking Paul, taking him for granted? Yeah, it probably is. Might be. Does that weigh in? Yeah, that weighs in. People don't look at those parts of it. And the weight. Paul's smart. He always puts clauses in there. I know this is the first time he's fighting a guy who's bigger than him and all that stuff, but he put in a 245-pound weight, clause, where he can't come in over 245. What is Joshua weighing? He was off over a year. He was basically retired. Was he 280? Was he 290? Was he 275? Easily could be the case. He didn't have a lot of time now to get to 245. How does that affect him? Oh, we forgot about that. It's a little thing, but it's not that little. It's a thing that Paul put there for a reason. Again, Paul hasn't made too many mistakes. He's been pretty damn smart. I'm not saying he's the fighter that Joshua is, but I don't know if Joshua's the fighter that Joshua is.
But he also points out that Jake Paul is younger, hungrier, moving with better feet than most people realize. Atlas sees pictures. Jake slipping, Jake stepping, Jake countering, Jake chasing opportunity if Joshua strolls in with the wrong attitude. It's the hunger that fascinates him. The idea that Jake Paul, who wasn't born into boxing, who had to claw and train and obsess his way into relevance, might attack this fight with a kind of reckless, beautiful ambition that can create openings, especially if Joshua is casual for even 10 seconds. Atlas mentions the weight clause, the inactivity, the subtle psychological wrinkles that make fights far less simple than fans think.
First thoughts was, this guy's crazy. Not gonna lie. But I get it. Coming from a guy who's not a true traditional boxer, and to be able to have a position where he can fight a former unified world champion, former Olympic gold medalist, and to do it on such a stage where Anthony Joshua was a superstar as well. I mean, like, he sold out the O2, you know, twice.
Absolutely.
I think. So, you know, I think Jake is setting himself up for, you know, a huge spectacle, in which is, you know, kind of smart. If you're going to go big, why not go to the highest, like the highest of the mountain? Why not? And I get it. That's what you call business right there. And I've seen a lot of guys calling him out, from like Gabe to, you know, other guys who are boxers. Yeah, like guys who actually beat him. But why would he settle for those guys when he could fight Anthony Joshua? So I think that's, you know, I think that's smart. I think that's super smart.
Smart is one thing. What do you think happens in the ring, though, champ?
I think he gets hurt, for sure. I think he gets obliterated. Something close to like Francis Ngannou. I think something like that happens, and it's going to be bad for him. But there will be.
And suddenly the whole thing feels like more than a stunt. It becomes a scenario, a puzzle, a gamble. Then Lamont Roach steps in like the voice of concern, shaking his head, saying this whole thing is lopsided in a way that feels frightening. He looks at the physics, the mass, the history of heavyweight punching, and says a single committed shot from Joshua could change not just Jake's night.
Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, your thoughts on this fight? And Mega One?
Yeah, huge respect to Jake. I mean, we all know what should happen on paper, but it's boxing. So huge respect to Jake.
You're for Jake Paul. All right, great. You know what? Thank you, Sean. And now that's now my phrase. I'm going to steal that from you from this moment. I'm going to use it going forward, because I didn't know how to describe my feeling about this fight, but I just got it. I'm glad I thought of it right after I read Sean O'Malley said it. Sean went on to say, there's certain punches, there's certain knockouts, there's certain concussions, there's certain ass whippings, there's certain beatings that are not equal to others. They're the kind of knockouts, of punches, of concussions, of ass whippings, and of beatings that change your life. They change lives. And O'Malley didn't elaborate on what that meant, but I know what he meant. I know what he meant. There is a confidence that a person has. From the guy that walks down the street, the most confident, he walks in the room and he's the man and he gets to live his life feeling that way and people will treat him that way. All the way down to the coward who walks his wife like he's weak, who handles everything sheepishly. But one thing those two guys have in common is that neither of them actually knows where they stand. Neither of them has actually tested that theory. They got all the rest of society to go along with it. Therefore, they don't.
But Jake's future, Because heavyweights are different. They don't hit like cruiserweights or welterweights or middleweights. They hit like angry machines. Roach is worried for the kid, genuinely worried, because Joshua isn't just strong, he's technically efficient, polished, disciplined, and when he sets his feet, bad things happen to the man in front of him. And then Andrew Tate pops in like a motivational speaker at a rally, not predicting winners or losers, but preaching respect, admiration, courage. He loves the ambition. He loves the fire. For Tate, this is about character. Jake Paul daring to risk everything, to stand in the ring with one of the most dangerous heavyweights alive, to say,
final performance. What if Jake makes it 5 rounds, 6 rounds? What if Jake made it to the distance? What if Jake won a round? Now, it's very hard to believe. It's very hard to imagine. I think it's the big struggle with this fight. I cannot, off the top of my head, produce a fight for you in any form of unarmed combat that drew, that was exciting, where the audience did not have a reasonable expectation, an expectation to some degree that, well, if he does this or that, there is a way for this guy to win. And that's usually pretty easy to do because nobody knows anything about fighting. Nobody watching this right now, none of you, my millions of viewers, not one of you has ever boxed. Not one of you knows someone in the family. Well, my dad was a boxer, my uncle was a boxer. No, you don't. Not only are you not a boxer, you don't even know of a boxer. Now, I only share that because when I come out and say nobody knows what they're talking about when they're talking about boxing, like, it's not meant to be an insult. You don't know anything about boxing. It was never taught to you. None of you in recess boxed. None of your junior highs, your high schools, your colleges, your community colleges offered boxing. Your hometown didn't have a boxing gym. Now really think about that. Because as much as you love the sport and as much as you think that you understand it, not only do you not understand it, you can't even have a conversation with other people who do because they don't understand it. So what is a win? I think that time counts. I think that time is a very big deal. You're in that little bitty ring, and I know a guy can run backwards, but running backwards is not illegal.
Yes, when logic says no. Tate claps for the bravery alone because anyone willing to step into that furnace deserves applause, whether they get burned or not. Sean O'Malley, on the other hand, does not hide his fear. To him, this is terrifying, not just dramatic. He thinks of knockout highlights in the aftermath, of what it means to get hit by a 240-pound athlete who spent 10 years perfecting the art of hurting people. O'Malley imagines what it would feel like to take a full Joshua right hand, and he winces. He talks about long-term health, careers ending early, the kind of concussive violence boxing can deliver when the mismatch is too sharp. The word terrifying rolls off his tongue with a cold realism. Chael Sonnen brings a notebook because of course he does, and breaks everything down like a math teacher explaining inevitable doom. Height, reach, weight, power, experience. He lists them like courtroom evidence, pointing to a verdict that seems impossible to argue. The imbalance is extreme, Sonnen says. Joshua lives in heavyweight physics. Jake Paul only visits them occasionally with padded gloves and optimistic courage. When you line up the facts, the raw, simple facts, it looks like Joshua is not just the favorite, but the overwhelming, crushing, astronomical favorite. And that makes this fight fascinating, not because it is fair, but...
And I agree. And, you know, but listen, Joshua's done this already. He fought a guy that he was supposed to destroy. Right. And then he went out there and he destroyed him. And he didn't play with his food. Yep. He didn't say, okay, it was Ngannou I'm talking about, obviously. Of course. Who gave Tyson Fury fits and really had everyone questioning Tyson Fury's ability because he struggled with an MMA fighter in his pro boxing debut. Anthony Joshua didn't do that. He went out there and did what we all expected Tyson Fury to do and completely wiped the floor with the guy. And if Joshua doesn't do that this fight, I agree with you, Jimmy. It's going to hurt his stock. It's going to hurt the way that people perceive him moving forward. And also, I think, honestly, and if he doesn't go out there and just lay into Jake Paul and end it in the first, if not second round, to me, it's gonna look fishy to me. It's gonna look like this was a setup. This was an exhibition. This wasn't a real fight. If this is a real fight, it should be over in 90 seconds because Anthony Joshua is a legit gold medalist, super heavyweight, crazy athlete, awesome power, and Jake Paul just isn't on that level in any way. And he's not he's undersized. You know, Jake Paul was fighting a cruiserweight in his last fight. He was under 100 under 200 pounds. You know, Joshua is a legit 250 pounds with abs, and the guy punches with the right hand like a cannon.
The one advantage Jake Paul has had in previous fights, and we all know people who have worked with him, and they go, he's got natural power. He can hit pretty well for his size. Not elite, right? Not world champion, but he can hit pretty well for his size. Paulie, that one advantage that he's had in previous fights is
because it is absurd. Joshua walks in with legacy on his back, power in his shoulders, all the advantages the universe could pack into a heavyweight frame. Jake Paul walks in with hunger, swagger, youth, and a willingness to gamble with fate. Maybe it ends in one round. Maybe it ends in shock. Maybe it ends in heartbreak, triumph, disaster, or chaos. But when that bell rings, when the arena explodes, when the first punches fly, one truth remains. Both men signed the contract, both men stepped into the ring, and now the whole world gets to watch what happens when confidence collides with power. And that, more than anything, is what makes boxing beautiful.